Alive, we are live. We got a lot to talk about today. See it right there, Nolan's notes, episode 76. We're going to be talking Mets. They are not dead yet with a solidified offensive win in game five, baby. Yankees, they do the work over the Cleveland Guardians, and now they sit one win away from the World Series. But the Mets, before we get into the Yankees, we're going to be talking Mets because the Mets are not dead yet. They get a massive 12-6 victory over the Los Angeles Dodgers in game five. It was huge. They just kept tacking on runs. They scored in more innings yesterday than they did in the entire series headed into yesterday's game. So the Mets offense, they finally woke up. They put 12 runs on the board, 14 hits overall, and the Dodgers, they still scored a lot. I talked about it yesterday on the pregame pod. You need to score early and you need to keep tacking on runs. No matter what David Peterson does, this game is not on him. It would be on the Mets bats, and the Mets bats woke up. Pete Alonso, he started it early, man. Started it early. He gave the Mets that jolt with the early game home run in the first inning. I mean, going down and golfing that pitch just shows you the power he has. And he had a fantastic game in game five. Pete Alonso finished the game going 2 for 3, scored 4 times, 3 RBIs on the 3-run home run in the first inning of the game. And then he got on base 4 times yesterday. So Pete Alonso, got to give him a lot of credit. Scored 4 times, got on base 4 times. Every time he was on base, he scored. So Alonso is as subpar of a regular season as he did had, and I don't want to say it was terrible because it's subpar. I mean, the guy hit 34 home runs, had a 240 batting average, a 792 OPS. Anybody else has that type of year, we maybe call it a career year outside of like Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, basically the Dodgers lineup, basically. But Pete Alonso had a subpar year for sure. But in the postseason, Pete Alonso has turned things around so far through his postseason. He's got 4 home runs, tied for the most on the Mets with Mark Vientos, 9 RBIs, second most on the Mets. I believe actually Lindor tops him with 10. But third most RBIs on the Mets right now in the postseason and a 990 OPS. How we doing, Lane? I think we can. We're going to be getting into that in just a bit. Game 7 is right there for the Mets to take because with Sean Manaea on the bump, you got to be confident. And with the way Pete Alonso and the bats are swinging, you got to be confident because if they do what they did in Game 6, I mean, it's going to be hard to say that the Mets can't get the Game 7 with Sean Manaea on the bump. But it's on the bats again. It's not on Sean Manaea. It's on the bats again. They capitalized with runners in scoring position yesterday. They were 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position in game 4. And in game 3, too, they were terrible with runners in scoring position. They loaded the bases multiple times. I mean, remember early on when Francisco Alvarez struck out and then Francisco Lindor struck out, just not good. And even with runners in scoring position yesterday, I mean, in game 4, Brandon Nimmo, I mean, he saved the double play ball that would have ended the inning, but they got to capitalize with runners in scoring position. They have to. Jeff McNeil came through. He had 2 sac flies. It was a good addition in the lineup. And speaking of good additions in the lineup for Game 5, Jesse Winker. Jesse Winker is on fire. He's one of the best Mets hitters in this lineup right now. We talked about in the pregame pod. With runners in scoring position in the regular season, he had over a 900 OPS. He hit over 300. Why was he not in the lineup in Game 3, ending Game 4, in Game 6, and potentially Game 7? Winker needs to be in the lineup. He's been one of the best hitters in this lineup in the playoffs. 316 batting average, 1.203 OPS, 7 times he has scored in the postseason and 5 RBIs in the postseason. He went off just like Pete Alonso scored a lot. He scored the second most yesterday. He got on base a total of 3 times. He went 2 for 3 yesterday with a big RBI triple. And then he scored 3 times as well. So the 3 times he got on base, he scored every time too, just like Alonso did. So Winker, you got to give him a lot of credit. In the postseason, he's been phenomenal. He's came through in clutch spots. He needs to be in the lineup in Game 6 and in Game 7. I could see maybe Jose Iglesias. You want to plug him back in there. But that's the only thing. And obviously, Francisco Alvarez, you keep him in the lineup. We're going to get into him in just a bit. He had the best game of his postseason career, 3 for 4 with an RBI. But Winker needs to be in the lineup over JD Martinez. JD Martinez hasn't had an extra base hit since early September. Jesse Winker has been probably, a top 3, top 4 hitter. I mean, it's Vientos, Alonso, Lindor, and Winker right now. Because you look at the top 5 of that lineup yesterday, it was great. I mean, outside of Brandon Nimmo, who's hurt right now, I was confident in all the 4 out of the 5 guys to do something last night. Vientos 0 for 5, but at the end of the day, Lindor provided. He went 2 for 4 again. He's been doing great this postseason, hitting over 270. And then you got Nimmo, who got on base. He did go 1 for 4 too, got on base twice, scored once. He had an RBI as well, so good for Nimmo. Provided just something there in that 2-hole. Jose Iglesias ended up coming in for him and playing third base. While we saw when we also saw Luis Angel Acuna come in the game as well. But Nimmo, I mean, he's hurt, but he's given the Mets something, and that's what you need. Nimmo is doing something. I mean, Tiki Barber always talks about it. There's a difference between being hurt and injured, and it seems like he's just injured, so he can play through it, and I'm confident in him to stay in that lineup. But maybe you put him in the DH spot and you put Winker in left field, just add a little bit more mobility in left field. I know Nimmo at full health clears Winker defensively, but right now I think they gotta potentially move Nimmo to DH. But lineup-wise, I wouldn't change the top 5. Lindor, Nimmo, Vientos, Alonso, Winker. That's good. That's exactly what the Mets need in the top 5 of the order, especially going up against the Dodgers. I mean, they got all-stars all over the lineup. So I loved Winker in that lineup yesterday. Paid off big time. Got on base 3 times, scored 3 times, had the RBI triple, and then finished 2 for 3 in the game. And then his postseason stats just in 2024 are ridiculous. The 1.203 OPS, 316 batting average. The guy's been doing phenomenal. And then Mark Vientos, you got to give him a little credit too this postseason, even though he was over 5 yesterday. Mark Vientos, before we talk about his postseason, I want to talk about Mark Vientos in general. Is he becoming the best hitter in this Mets lineup? Like, seriously, because you look at his regular season stats, in just 110 games, the guy hit 27 home runs, drove in 70 runs, 268 batting average, 844 OPS. He's only 24 years old. I mean, this guy is going to be the centerpiece in the lineup, I think, for years to come. And that's saying something when Francisco Lindor is in the lineup. Lindor, all around, I think, is a much better ball player than Vientos. And I'd much rather have Lindor in crucial spots than Vientos. But Vientos is he's right there with Lindor. He's right there with Lindor. I mean, like I said before, 110 games, drove in 70 runs. That's insane. He plays 140, 160 games. I mean, that 27 home run might end up being 35, 40, 70 RBIs, could be 100, 110. He's that good. And in the postseason, he's been even better. 333 batting average, and that's with going 0 for 5 last night. 4 home runs, tied for first on the Mets in the playoffs right now with Pete Alonso. 12 RBIs, most on the Mets right now in the playoffs. 966 OPS. Vientos is turning into a star in front of our eyes. He's turning into a star in front of our eyes. And, you know, he's become not maybe the centerpiece of the lineup right now, but he's a big part of that lineup. Right now, I think Alonso is actually the playoff MVP for the Mets. I mean, Alonso's postseason numbers have been very good. His numbers overall, 4 home runs, tied for first on the Mets, 9 RBIs, and the 990 OPS. So he has the edge over Vientos right now, but Vientos is a close second for the MVP of the postseason. And then Lindor, obviously, haven't talked about Lindor just yet, but Lindor, you got to give him credit. He's been having a phenomenal postseason, another 2 for 4 game, 13 hits in 11 games this postseason, 277 batting average, 897 OPS, drove in 8 runs, scored 10 times. So, I mean, Lindor's giving you exactly what you needed out of him. He's been the best player on the Mets, and he's continuing to be, I'd say, the best all-around player, offensive MVP. Like I said before, Alonso, maybe Vientos, but Lindor is definitely a close second. If it's Alonso or Vientos or Lindor, it's definitely one of those guys that's been the MVP of the postseason for the Mets. So Lindor, I mean, he started off the game. I mean, that first inning, you know, David Peterson escapes the jam, second and third, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. Peterson did a great job, even though his numbers didn't look too well at the end of the game. Let up 2 earned runs over 3.2 innings of work, 6 hits allowed, 4 walks allowed. The walks killed him. But outside of that, Peterson, I thought, actually pitched very well, especially against a stud Dodgers lineup. But Lindor, he started that first inning off. He got on base with a hard hit single off Jack Flaherty, started it early, and then Nimmo gets on base with a walk. Vientos, obviously, I thought he almost got a home run. He just missed it. And then Alonso, I mean, Alonso doesn't get up in the first inning unless Lindor and Nimmo get on. So you got to give those 2 guys credit. It's consistently been those 3 guys in the biggest spots. I feel like it's been Lindor, Alonso, and Nimmo that have been the ones. And that's exactly who you want to be the ones on this Mets team in the playoffs right now. I mean, those guys have been part of the Mets those guys are the core. That's the core. No matter what happens to Alonso, the 2024 core of the Mets has been Lindor, Nimmo, and Alonso. And now Mark Vientos is joining that core, obviously, too. Like I said before, he's arguably the postseason MVP. I'd give it to Alonso based off the home runs that he's hit. But Yuki got a big game prediction, game 6 prediction from him. Mets win 10-2. I could definitely see, if the Mets lineup wakes up again like they did in game 5, I mean, we all know Sean Manaea can shove. Sean Manaea controlled Shohei Ohtani. He made him look like a fool. If Manaea could pitch every inning, I think he definitely would, obviously. But, I mean, we all know that's unrealistic. But Manaea, you got to have confidence in him going for game 6. Maybe we can get to a game 7 and see what happens there. But Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, and Brandon Nimmo, they have been providing the Mets exactly with what they needed this postseason. And then Mark Vientos as well going off. We'll do it one more time, go over his numbers. The .333 batting average, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, .966 OPS. And then Jesse Winker as well. That's a great top 5 of the batting order for the Mets. It's got to be for game 6, got to be for game 7 if we do get there. But great performance out of David Peterson in game 5. He gave the Mets energy, gave the Mets life, gave the Mets crowd something to cheer about at Citi Field, working out of that second and third jam with nobody out, getting out of there. That was huge for David Peterson. He's been one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in the Mets rotation since he came up and joined them from that injury. In the regular season, went 10-3, 2.90 ERA, over 121 innings of work, 21 games started. And in the postseason, he's got 5 games, only 1 start last night, and it was a really good start in my opinion, even though the numbers don't really portray it. 3.2 innings, 2 earned runs allowed, 4 walks, but in the postseason, he's been phenomenal. 5 games, 2.92 ERA. He's only allowed 4 earned runs, 8 Ks, 8 walks, so he's matching it there. And we know the walks for all the Mets pitchers, they're going to be inflated because of the way that they've been pitching the Dodgers specifically. The Dodgers, they're afraid. They are clearly afraid. They're pitching around them. They're intentionally walking Shohei Ohtani way too much. And I did like what Stanek did against the Dodgers lineup. He didn't give them free passes. He said, if you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me with hits. You're not going to beat me with free passes. So I want to talk about the bullpen now too. Peterson did a great job, but Reed Garrett came in, and even though he let up 3 earned runs, he got a huge out against Freddie Freeman, coming in with, I believe there was 2 runners on second. There was a runner on second, a runner on third when Garrett came in that spot, and he gets a huge out, finished the game allowing 3 earned runs with a home run allowed. But I mean, Garrett, you got to give him a lot of credit, because if Freddie Freeman comes through there, it's a 2-run, 1-run ball game, depending on how many runners scored, depending on where he hits the ball there. So good for him getting that big out there. Outside of that, I mean, he didn't really do too well, but the one guy, Ryan Stanek, has been a beast for the Mets this entire postseason. In 6 games, he's only allowed 2 earned runs. The 1 earned run came from last night, a home run off to Mookie Betts, but he challenged the Dodgers hitters. He challenged all of them, including Ohtani. He said, if you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me by putting the bat on the ball. No free passes. He did great, struck out 4 batters across 2.1 innings of work, only allowed 1 hit, the Mookie Betts home run. And then Edwin frickin' Diaz coming in there, giving the Mets 2 innings. I mean, I know we had a big lead, but a big lead, a 6-run lead against the Dodgers ain't big. It's not big. So Edwin Diaz, it was kind of a safe situation when you're talking about the team that you're playing in, the Dodgers. So great for him to come in there and shove against the Dodgers. Struck out 2 batters, didn't allow a single walk, did allow a hit, but 2 innings of work, 2 solid innings of work, gave the Mets an opportunity to give Sean Manaea the ball for game 6 and potentially force a game 7. So with Sean Manaea lined up for game 6, how are we feeling? Are we feeling good? I'm feeling great. I am feeling amazing. I thought the Mets bats did exactly what they needed to do. Keep piling on the Dodgers, get the momentum headed into game 6, give your ace the ball, and give him a chance to force a game 7. And do I think the Mets can win game 7? I don't freaking know. I can't confidently say the Mets can win game 7, but I can confidently say the Mets can win game 6 and potentially make magic happen one more time in game 7. I mean, all year the Mets have come from behind. I can't count them out now. I cannot count them out now. They've proved us wrong. They've proved everybody wrong numerous times. So I'm expecting the Mets to potentially prove us wrong one more time, because I really do think this series is not over. And I really think the Mets still legitimately have a shot. And it's all because of Sean Manaea. And that is true, Yuki, with a great point. If the Mets get to game 7, the pressure is on LA. 100%. The Mets are playing with house money right now. They literally got nothing to lose. They get to game 7. They have nothing to lose. They lose. Big whoop. You walked into Shohei Ohtani and the best team in baseball. Who cares? You went to 7 games against Shohei Ohtani and the best team in baseball. So all they got to do is get to game 7 and we're happy. And realistically, the Mets should be happy with themselves. So they have nothing to lose right now. Nothing to lose. They got to go balls to the wall one more time in game 6. And then obviously they've been playing the most important game of their season, really the most important game in the last decade for the Mets franchise, every single game these past few weeks. So another time where we're going to say this is the biggest game in the last decade for the Mets franchise in game 6 of the NLCS with Sean Manaea, their ace on the bump, baby. So let's go over Manaea. The last time he pitched against the Dodgers was actually in game 2. So they're going to be seeing him one more time. Manaea, he did very well. He pitched amazing. 5 innings, 2 hits allowed, 4 walks, 2 earned runs only, a home run he let up. But outside of that, Manaea looked great. He controlled Shohei Ohtani, controlled the top 3 hitters of the Dodgers lineup. None of them got a hit off him. And in game 1, they combined for 5 RBIs. So it was good shutting them down, getting the Mets some momentum. And obviously, if we don't win game 2, we're done. We're freaking done, man. So we need Manaea one more time. The last start before that in the playoffs, he's been ridiculous. He's arguably been one of the best postseason pitchers in this entire MLB playoffs right now. 2.65 ERA in 3 games so far, 17 innings of work, 17 strikeouts, 6 walks, only 5 earned runs allowed. So yeah, Manaea, we need one more vintage 2024 Sean Manaea start, because he's had his best season this year. Undoubtedly, the best year of his career has been this year. So, one more Manaea. Get us to game 7. Yuki with another great point. This series will come down. Who can outslug who? And we got the lineup for it. Obviously, they have a much better lineup, but it's not like this Mets lineup can't match them. They can match them. They've been one of the best teams. They've been the best team in baseball since June. So they've been a much better team. Not much better, but a better team since June than the Dodgers. So it's not crazy to think that the Mets can win 3 in a row. They can. They took 3 out of 4 from the Phillies. Twice in the last 8 times they played the Phillies, they took 6 games. So why can't this Mets team win 2 in a row against the Dodgers when they have Sean Manaea on the bump for game 6 and potentially Severino, who I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we get a vintage Severino start if we do get there. But we definitely can get there because we got Sean Manaea on the freaking bump. One more. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk some Yankees. They play tonight at 8 o'clock with a chance to win and go to the World Series for the first time since 2009. Yankees next on the James Nolan podcast. Taking a little break, and we'll get into them. Last 80 games of 2023, 284 batting average, 15 home runs, 44 RBIs. If we get that Lindor for a full year, and now I'm not saying last year he didn't have all year. Look at the numbers. Last year, 2023, Lindor was a top shortstop. He was an all MLB shortstop. 30-30. He was a beast. But in the last 80 games, the second half, that's when Lindor really turned it up. If we get that Lindor for a full season, the Mets are going to make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. And Lindor will be an MVP candidate. He has MVP potential. I've said it since the Mets have traded for him. Francisco Lindor has the talent, has the ability to win an MVP. He is that good. But he's inconsistent at times. I cannot ignore that. But over the last 80 games of 2023, he was pretty consistent. And he was probably the best, second best, right after Corey Seager. But he was arguably the best shortstop in all of baseball the last 80 games. That's what Lindor can be. And if we get that for a full year, not only will he be an MVP candidate, but the Mets will be in the postseason. He's that good. Lindor is that good. Now, I'm not saying he's going to win the MVP, but I've been saying it since we've traded for him. He has it in him. He does have it in him. Last year, undoubtedly his best year. Second half, he was the best shortstop in baseball. We get that for a full year. Mets are going to the playoffs. Let's go over to the DH, and then we'll get into the Yankees. Jorge Soler wants at least 3 years. If he wants 3 years and he's going to get 3 years, stay away from it. Last year, he was great, 30-plus home runs. Probably had the best year of his career. But he's also 31. He's had 11 years. It took him 11 years to have that type of year. I'm not saying that he's going to have that year for the next 3 years. I would stay away. So that gets me into my next guy, J.D. Martinez. I wrote a piece on it just last week. J.D. Martinez is a perfect fit with the Mets. Perfect fit. You got guys like Vientos. You got guy like Beatty. You got guys like Francisco Alvarez. You got all these young guys that you want to have make an impact for the Mets eventually in the future. Not only can J.D. Martinez help you now, but he's not going to take away at bats from those guys, 1. And 2, he could help those young guys. And he could be the DH for this year. He could help the Mets in 2023. That's really the simple answer. Why is he a perfect fit with the Mets? Because he would help them win in 2024. Down the road, is he going to affect the Mets? No, because it would only take a 1 or 2 year deal. Guy's 38. And guess what? I'm not going to say he's washed because guess what? He's 3 years in a row. He's made the All-Star team. 3 consecutive years. J.D. Martinez is the furthest thing from washed up. Just last year, 33 home runs, over 100 RBIs, 271 batting average. Lindor, Alonso, J.D. Martinez, Francisco Alvarez. 4 guys right there who have 30-plus home run potential. He makes the Mets lineup a playoff lineup. Mets, go out there and sign J.D. Martinez. Complete this lineup. What do you guys think? Should the Mets sign J.D. Martinez? I think he's a great fit here. But then again, I'm not David Stearns. So only time will tell. Spring training starts tomorrow. All right, we're back. Let's talk some Yankees. But then again, just one more comment on the Mets. We can freaking do this. Do you resign Pete and Alonso? Let's get to these comments and questions. Lane, I think not J.D. Martinez. I think he's on the tail end of his career. I mean, we saw it. First half, he just didn't have the power he had. He had over 30 home runs last year. This year, he just wasn't the same player. He's a singles hitter now. He can still be a guy that maybe can come up in a pinch hit spot and get you a run in a crucial spot, but he's not going to drive the ball over the roll like he used to. He's not going to get to extra base hits. He hasn't had one since early September. So J.D. Martinez, I would stay away from signing him. Then again, if he wants to take a bench role, I'm all for it. Depends how much you pay him, though. If you're paying him over $10 million to sit on the bench and pinch hit, no. But if you're paying him $10 million or under, yeah, why not? Let's give it a shot. I wouldn't mind having him on this roster one more time. Let's give it another run no matter what happens. Pete Alonso, I think you gotta. No matter if you want to offer Juan Soto a blank check, no matter what they want to do in the offseason, I think they have to re-sign Pete Alonso. He's a crucial part of this lineup. He's proven it right now. Without Pete Alonso in the playoffs, the Mets aren't where they're at. They're not playing Game 6 of the NLCS. They might not even be in the playoffs. So Pete Alonso, I think it's undoubtedly you got to re-sign him. You have to. I'm all for it. I'm not sure if the Mets are going to. I'm not going to say the Mets are definitely going to re-sign him. But I am saying that they definitely should. They should re-sign him. Because with Lindor, Vientos, and Alonso, that's a good lineup. You add one more piece in that lineup like a Soto. I mean, that's at this point, I think Soto, after seeing them play the Dodgers, is a must. It is a must. You got to go all in for Soto, and you still got to bring back Alonso because the Dodgers lineup is so freaking hard to beat. So hard to beat. And if we did have Soto in this lineup right now, and I hate talking about the offseason when we're in the middle of the NLCS, but we're talking about it right now, so let's talk about it. Soto in this lineup with the Mets, I mean, they're going toe-to-toe with the Dodgers lineup. They are. You got Lindor, Soto, Vientos, Alonso, Nimmo, Marte, Winker. That's something. And I think we got to re-sign Jesse Winker too. Mark Vientos, I don't think we play him at first base next year. We got to remember David Wright, when he started his career at third base for the Mets, he wasn't an amazing third baseman defensively. He wasn't regarded even as a good, remotely good third baseman defensively when he first started. And then he turned into a Gold Glover. And David Wright didn't have Francisco Lindor playing right next to him. We saw Francisco Lindor work a lot with him in the offseason. So I would say that that's going to happen again. So I think Vientos will get better defensively at third base. His bat is way too good to take out of the lineup. So, and same thing with Alonso. I want to re-sign him. So you got to just get better defensively at third base. And I think he's totally capable of doing that. He's totally capable of doing that. And like I said before in the pod, Vientos might just be the best hitter in this Mets lineup. And yes, they should bring back those black road uniforms for sure. Those black road uniforms were so nice. But let's get into these Yankees. These Yankees, with a win tonight, they can get to the World Series. Yankees in Game 4, a nice 8-6 victory. We saw Stanton have another great game. Judge kind of another good game. He's on the 3-game hitting streak. Went 1 for 4 last night. Juan Soto, he had a great game as well, but Giancarlo Stanton is the one who's on fire. He's been the one carrying this lineup. And also Anthony Volpe had a good game as well. Anthony Rizzo, another 2 for 4. Well, a 2 for 4 performance from him after coming back in the lineup. And he's been providing the Yankees a lot since he's been back in this lineup. So Rizzo, a surprising jolt for the Yankees. And Volpe is also having a good postseason. In this playoffs, he's batting .320 with a .485 on base percentage. So Anthony Volpe having a little great playoffs. That young kid struggled in the second half of the regular season for sure, but in the playoffs, he's been actually money. So good for him. Like to see that. But the Yankees, what I want to start off with is they're going to the World Series, no doubt in my mind. Whether they lose this game or not, they're not losing this game. They are not losing this game. I'm not sure if the lineups came out just yet. Let's check. The game does start in 4 hours. Usually it comes out like 2 hours before. Lineups didn't come out, but you got Rodon versus Tanner Bybee. So the Guardians throwing their best out there, one of their best at least, 12-8, 3.47 ERA over 31 games for Tanner Bybee in the regular season. Last time he faced the Yankees was just a few games ago. He only got through 1.1 innings, let up 5 hits, let up 2 earned runs, only 2 strikeouts. So the Cleveland Guardians pulled him early. So you got to like that. We got to like that. And Rodon, if he pitches like he did in his last start against the Guardians, where he went 6 innings in Game 1, 3 hits allowed over those 6 innings, only 1 earned run, and 9 strikeouts in those 6 innings. No walks. So Rodon, if you get that Rodon, I mean, you're going to win this game tonight because Stanton is on fire. Judge is on, he's on a 3-game hitting streak, and I think he's right there he's going to join Soto and Stanton and Volpe and now Anthony Rizzo even with being on fire. I think that's huge if the Yankees get Aaron Judge. But Stanton has been a beast. Stanton in the postseason, 300 batting average, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 1.167 OPS. I mean, this is what the guy's getting paid to do. You can say all you want. Oh, he's getting paid way too much for what he's done in the regular season. But you know what? Big-time players show up when it means the most. In every single playoffs, since he's been with the Yankees, he's dominated the plate. So Stanton, got to give him credit. He's doing exactly what he's getting paid to do. Show up when the lights are the brightest, and he's showing up right now with the Yanks. And he's the reason they're here right now, because if Stanton wasn't performing, do they get by the Royals? Who knows? Who knows? Because Judge he's not performing. Well, now he is with a 3-game hitting streak, but he's still not quite there just yet. But Juan Soto, he had a great game last night with Stanton. Stanton, he went 1 for 3 with the home run, scored twice, got on base twice. And Judge, I mean, he only went 1 for 2. He got on base with a walk as well, scored once on the Stanton home run. Juan Soto went 2 for 3 last night with an RBI and a home run. So Soto having a little good postseason as well. 286 batting average in the postseason, 953 OPS, 5 RBIs in the playoffs. You'd like to see more, but he's doing exactly what he did in the regular season. I mean, those numbers are almost identical to what he was doing in the regular season. 286 batting average in the playoffs, 288 batting average in the regular season, 988 OPS in the regular season, 953 OPS in the playoffs. 419 on base percentage in the regular season, 417 on base percentage in the playoffs. So his stats are literally mirroring the regular season. Stanton is elevating himself right now. Soto playing the same, and Judge, he's taking a step back. But you need to see Aaron Judge be Aaron Judge. Because if the Yankees are going to play the Dodgers, they are going to need Aaron Judge. I see it. I see the Dodgers play every single night. They're ridiculous. Their lineup is insane. Once Ohtani gets on base, they could score 2 or 3 runs in a single inning. They're that good. I mean, even when they were out of the game yesterday, they were still clawing back. They were still giving me and other Mets fans, scares, just because we know how much of a threat that Dodgers lineup is. So if the Yankees do end up playing the Dodgers do beat the Mets in Game 6 or a potential Game 7, the Yankees will need Aaron Judge. Big time. And even if the Mets somehow crawl back, they will need Aaron Judge still. But he has scored in 5 straight playoff games. He has gotten a base knock in 3 straight games now. He's got a 1.036 OPS in his last 3 games, 2 home runs. He had back-to-back games with a home run in Game 3 and Game 4. Game 2 and Game 3. So now in Game 5, if Judge shows up, the Yankees win because if like I said before, if Rodon gives you a start like he gave you last time where he went 6 innings in Game 1, 9 strikeouts, no walks, Yankees are going to win this game. Yanks are going to win this game. I think they need to give Clay Holmes and Luke Weaver a night off. They have to. They're starting to struggle a little bit. I'm going to get into that more in a little bit because I do want to go over Anthony Volpe. You got to give him a little credit. Put up his numbers on the screen. 320 batting average, 485 OPS. And last night, again, Volpe, he was just getting on base. He's been on base how many times this postseason again? Let's see. 8 hits, 8 walks, 16 times on base. 16 times on base over 8 games. So he's getting on base 2 times a game at least right now. 45 batting average. 45 on base percentage. That's ridiculous. He's almost getting on base 50% of the time. So Volpe kind of struggled in the regular season. You look at his regular season numbers overall, not that bad. 293 on base percentage is terrible, actually. That is bad. But the 243 batting average, 27 doubles, that's pretty good. 60 RBIs, that's pretty good. 90 runs scored, that's pretty good. You'd like to see more, obviously. But Volpe is only 23 years old. Still 23 years old. So you got to give him some time. But right now in the playoffs, he's showing you he's got it. He's got it. This is what you want to see out of this kid right now. Just like you want to see Stanton perform with the contract he's getting paid. Volpe, he struggled in the regular season, just like a lot of guys on the Mets. Alonso, he struggled in the regular season. He's starting to go off in the postseason right now. So, and another guy who's having a good postseason right now is Stanek. Stanek's having a really good postseason for the Mets right now. And even Edwin Diaz, he's having a decent postseason outside of one bad outing against the Phillies. He's been pretty good. So, Yankees, same thing. Clay Holmes, outside of his last 2 games. Luke Weaver, he was actually really good in the regular season, so I shouldn't say that, but he struggled. But yeah, Anthony Volpe is playing phenomenal right now, getting on base almost 50% of the time. That's great. That's exactly what you need, especially at a guy hitting 7th in the lineup. Austin Wells got a base knock, so he answered the haters. Still batting 100 in the postseason, though. And Jazz Chisholm, you definitely want to see him get going. He's still batting 129 in the postseason. He went hitless again in Game 4. But in Game 5, if you get a little something out of him, that would obviously be great, giving you a little confidence. But Yankees, here they are sitting 1 win away, but the bullpen is starting to struggle. So that's why I'm saying you got to give Clay Holmes and Luke Weaver both the night off, no matter what happens. Tommy Kahnle has been phenomenal this postseason. He still has yet to allow a run in 6 games, 7 innings of work. He's got 6 strikeouts, only how many walks? 6 walks. Oh, high there, but still limited in the damage. How many hits does he have allowed? Wow. Let up 1 hit last night. And in the postseason so far, he hasn't even let up 3 hits. 3 hits in the postseason so far. So Tommy Kahnle is an absolute beast right now for the Yankees. But yeah, I think Clay Holmes and Luke Weaver definitely need the night off. They pitched in almost every single game this playoffs for the Yankees. I think Clay Holmes actually has pitched in every single game for the Yankees. But definitely need the night off. Clay Holmes yesterday, a 3rd inning, 2 hits allowed, a walk, 2 earned runs. 1 earned run. So elevated his ERA to 3.52 in the postseason. So definitely need the night off for them. But the Yankees, they're looking good. One win away from the postseason outside of a late inning comeback from the Cleveland Guardians. Little magic that they had in game 3. Extra innings win when they won 7-5. I mean, the Yankees have just looked like the superior team. So I expect them to win tonight and go to the World Series for the first time since 2009. I picked them to win the World Series in the offseason headed into the year. So either way, I predicted well because I said the Mets would go to the playoffs if they signed JD Martinez, and here they are in the NLCS with a potential shot to force a game 7 on the best team in baseball. I picked the Yanks to go to the World Series and win the World Series, and here they are, one win away. But not to brag about myself, you got to give these teams credit, giving you something to cheer for. All right, tomorrow we'll be back with a little Mets pregame pod. We'll also be talking the Yankees if they're potentially in the World Series tonight. We'll go live after that little Yankees pod tonight. Only strictly Yankees, though. Won't be talking to any other teams. Tomorrow we'll be talking Mets, Yankees, Jets, and Giants. Jets and Mets playing at the same time tomorrow night, so that's going to be tough if you're a combo fan like myself. But the Giants, they get Malik Neighbors back. Coming back from a concussion. They got the Eagles tomorrow. So Saquon Barkley visiting the Giants for the first time since signing with the Eagles. And Saquon, 482 yards on 91 carries this year, 4 touchdowns. He's been having arguably a career year outside of his rookie year with the Giants. So Barkley's having one of his best years in a long time. Eagles, 3-2 right now, second in the AFC East. So the Giants have a shot to just be a game behind them if they do win this game. And the Cowboys, they've been struggling too. So the Commanders, they got a sizable lead right now in the NFC East, but is that going to last all year long? So if the Giants do win tomorrow, maybe, we got to start talking about this team as a potential playoff team, because then they'd be sitting at 3-4. Their schedule is still tough, obviously, but who do they have coming up? Let's see. They got the Eagles. They got the Steelers, which is going to be a tough game. Steelers 4-2 on the year. They're getting Russell Wilson back, so that should be interesting to see how he does against the Jets. Commanders, who they just got dominated by in week 2, well, not dominated by, but they had a kicker. They win. But in week 2, they lost. And the Commanders have been amazing this year, actually. 4-2, first in the NFC East. Jaden Daniels, 6 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, 1,404 passing yards. And even rushing the ball, he's been doing great, too. Rushing, he's got 322 yards on 63 attempts, 4 touchdowns. So Commanders and Jaden Daniels, got to like what you see from them so far. So that's something to keep an eye on, Commanders. But the Giants, if the Commanders lose this week, Giants are only 1 game behind them as well. And the Commanders, they got the Panthers, so they're probably going to win tomorrow. They're a 9.5 favorite right now. So they're definitely going to win that game. But then again, they win this week. They beat the Steelers. They'll have a chance to take first place if the Commanders do lose one of these next 2 games. So the Giants surprisingly in the playoff hunt if they can beat the Eagles tomorrow. And then the Jets, it's going to be tough to beat the Steelers. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be tough. Devontae Adams playing his first game with the Jets. So I do like the Devontae Adams trade. I think a lot of people are kind of underplaying the Devontae Adams trade. I think he's going to be a guy who's going to bring a lot to this Jets roster. Over these past, what are the Jets on a 3-game losing streak right now? Over this 3-game losing streak, it's a winnable game every single time if you have a guy like Devontae Adams. They only lost by 3 to the Buffalo Bills, so 1 big play. And, well, really, if the kicker if Greg the Leg could actually be Greg the Leg, we win that game. You get Devontae Adams, we get a big play or 2 from him, we probably win that game. The Vikings, we only lost 23-17. Mike Williams freaking slipping kind of cost us in that last drive. But we have Devontae Adams, a big player too. We win that game. And then same thing against the Broncos. 10-9, that was tough. We get Devontae Adams, 1 big play, and we win that game. So I think Devontae Adams actually could be a much bigger acquisition than a lot of people are talking about right now. The Steelers, they win today. If they win tomorrow night against the Steelers, the Patriots, that's definitely a winnable game. The Texans, they've been playing very good this year. CJ Stroud, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,577 passing yards on the year. Texans are 5-1, but it's still a beatable team. Arizona Cardinals, 2-4 on the year. That's definitely a beatable team. Colts, definitely a beatable team. Seahawks, Dolphins, Jaguars, Rams. These are all beatable opponents. So I think the Jets could turn their season around big time. There's still a lot of games left. a lot of winnable opponents on their schedule. I mean, really, I see the Texans and I see the Bills in week 17, and that's about it. So the Jets would really only lose 2 more games because the Steelers, they should beat. They should beat the Steelers. I'm still scared, definitely, but they should beat the Steelers. But on the remaining opponents on their schedule, there's only 2 teams that I'd say would be favorites over the Jets. So we'll see what the Jets can do. If they can finish 11-6, I mean, whew, that would be something. What a turnaround that would be. But Mets tomorrow night, Yankees tonight. We got the Giants tomorrow against the Eagles. Jets primetime Sunday night football. What a weekend for New York sports. Hopefully the Mets can force a game 7 and the season isn't over tomorrow night. And the Yankees, if they win tonight, they're going to their first World Series since 2009 with a chance to win their 28th World Series trophy. Wow, Aaron Judge, if he does that, he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. All right, that's it, guys. I'll see you tonight if the Yankees win. Tomorrow, like I said, we're going to be talking Mets, Yanks, Jets, and Giants. Little bit before the Giants game, probably around 10 a.m. All right, I'll see you guys. Thank you for watching, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on X. If you're on X, like and retweet this video. I'd really appreciate that. If you're on YouTube and you're not subscribed, hit subscribe. We're trying to get to 400. All right, I'm out of here. Deuces.